Welcome to Mental Health Monday. It's been a while, but we are so happy to be back with you guys. Thank you for joining us this evening. I want to say welcome to my co-host, Dr. Whyte. Good to
Greetings.
see you. I think it's been 3 weeks. It's been three
Yeah,
weeks,
absolutely.
and that was
Yeah,
not planned.
no, it wasn't planned,
That
but
was not planned.
it's interesting because even when we're away, though, we find things to keep ourselves busy. Isn't that right?
Oh, yes, we were quite busy, quite busy. And for those of you who may have watched church service on this past Sabbath, and we announced that we were doing part 3 on depression. How many of you watch sports or watch football? There's something that they call an audible. You know what an audible is? Is where the see, Dr. White doesn't know what I'm talking about, but
Mhm.
he looks at basketball, not football. Anyways, they when a coach calls an audible, it's like he's just changing. Like they have a play that they were going to go with, and then at the last minute he calls an audible and he goes with something else because he thinks it's going to work best for that team or play. So today, Dr. White and I, but really mainly him first, called an audible. So we're not doing depression part 3 this evening, but we believe that we still have an amazing program for you. And we will be coming back to depression and finish that up at some point as well, because we've done 2 programs and you guys are really here for it. And it was great. And we want to be able to continue to give you that information, but we're going to be talking about the brain and how the brain can change itself. So you're not going to want to miss this. Matter of fact, push share on your social media right at this time. Go ahead, Dr. White.
Right. We love giving flowers where they're due. The author, Dr. Norman Doidges.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm butchering the name. He wrote a phenomenal book on neuroplasticity, and he entitled it "The Brain That Changes Itself."
Yes.
And whenever I get a patient, a client, or a loved one that has experienced or knows someone who's experienced a stroke, I
Mhm.
always refer them to the book. Hey, pick that book up. And they'll say, for the client? I'm like, no, for you.
I know that
Uh,
and that's what you said to me today.
absolutely.
I
No,
was like,
no, no, not
"Oh,
for him, for
yeah,
you,
yes,
because this will empower you on how to provide that person support.
yes,
And that's what you're going to see as we talk about this evening. So this is one you do not want to miss, because we are going to help you adjust your mindset to
mhm,
really understand how best to recover from a stroke.
yes." And, we'll circle back around to that when we start to tell you why we were discussing, that,
All right.
today. But I do wanna say welcome, to Brother Clint and
What's
Deb
up, brother?
yeah, and to Deborah and Gwendolyn. Very good to see you guys on here. Let us know where you guys, the others who are watching, please let us know where you are viewing from so we can say a welcome to you. Looking for you, Veronica. I hope Veronica's on because I think we made Clint and Veronica like
Yeah.
are probably most faithful because they're always here. So Veronica, if you're not here, I'm going to be sad because I made it a mental point today to be like, okay, if Veronica's on there, I'm going to make her just as special as Clint.
Well, tell me about it. And Clint, we are praying that God's going to work something out so we can see you at the convocation. We're
Convocation.
just like, we're praying something miraculous is going to happen.
Yeah, Clint, you have to come. We have to take a picture. The 3 of us, we have to take a picture. And then
That'd
we'll
be
take a picture with
amazing.
your whole family too, or.
That would be amazing.
But yes, we definitely want to see you and everyone else too. Let us know in the chat if you guys planning on coming. But Joycelyn from Arizona, welcome. I love your handle. Hey, it's me. I love
That's
that.
cool. That's
It's you.
cool.
Yeah,
How
that
about
is.
Melissa Hill from Huntsville, Alabama?
All right, just down the road from me, somewhere down
And
the road.
I see Jocelyn from Arizona. That's a little closer to me. I
Yeah,
love
you
that.
said Jocelyn, I said Joycelyn, but yeah, you're right. It is
Oh,
probably Jocelyn. Well, either
um,
way, but welcome. Yes, she is closer to you for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, we are happy to have all of you here
yeah.
today. And we just want to welcome you again. And, from some of you may already know, but we had missed 3 weeks because I was dealing with a family emergency 3 weeks ago with my brother who had a stroke. And so I had to fly up to where he lives, do an emergency visit that needed to happen. And I was glad I was able to go. And so Dr. Whyte and I were talking today just about that recovery process. And that's when he mentioned the book. And he's like, why don't we do the program on it tonight? And so that's where the Audible came from. And so we believe that, again, you're going to be truly blessed. And we want to jump right into it because
100%.
we started a little bit late. So we want
Yeah,
to jump right into
100%.
it. Just so that you guys know that you are a part of this program with us. We are co-hosts for each other, but you are also our host because you help build the program with your questions and your comments. So if you have any questions or comments as we are presenting, please put it in the chat and make this program a great one.
No question. And yeah, let's hop in. So this book is really about the miracle of neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to say that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, but by the end of this program, you're going to have some really concrete understanding of why we can say that with confidence. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. So the book talks about neuroplasticity. So what exactly is neuroplasticity? So obviously, with the basic building block unit of the brain is what's called the neuron.
Mhm.
And neurons are designed in such a way that almost like the way my hands are shaking each other, one neuron will basically shake the hands of another neuron and they'll form networks.
Mhm.
And obviously, it's a lot more complicated than what I'm describing, but this networking is at the basis of our ability to engage and be aware of existence. Well, at one point, it was thought that that networking was something permanent, that once formed, it's just going to stay that way forever.
Mhm.
And the truly amazing thing became the epiphany, the paradigm shift that no, actually, what happens is that can change.
Mhm.
Our brain will undergo neuroplastic changes depending on the environment, depending on the activities, and guys, depending on even your thoughts.
I love it. I love your analogy. So the two hands basically connecting or, shaking hands, we'll say that.
Almost like shaking hands.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is like, so if for some reason that handshake stops if these two neurons stop communicating to each other, the body can find a new way. Is that what it is? A new way
It'll
to
shake
communicate.
hands. It can shake hands with someone else.
Mhm.
Or when you are learning something, even if it retains connection with that neuron, it may form a connection with another neuron.
Right.
And this, of course, will happen in a massive way because
Right.
the brain has about 100 billion neurons.
Mhm.
So the synapses are going into the trillions. But yeah, like I think it's just so profound, the
It is.
implication that your thoughts will literally re-network your mind.
There's so much I have to say. There's so much because first of all, I think this is probably if preached in a sermon format, I think that neuroplasticity is like the gospel at its core because it's like I can change. God's saying I can come and change you. My gospel
Oh,
is neuroplastic. It's
good.
like you don't have to stay the same, but that's not really where I was trying to go, but I just thought of that too. But I just think like it's just when you said there's 1 billion neurons.
100 billion, 100
100
billion
billion.
neurons.
Okay, 100
100
billion. I
billion.
don't know why. I guess 100
Yeah.
billion neurons. And that is such a large number. So there's such a variety of ways that the brain has to, like you're saying, heal itself.
Oh my goodness. And it's funny that he called the brain that changes itself because really it can also heal itself
Yeah.
in a sense, in a
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
But this concept of neuroplasticity and even your thoughts re-networking your mind, it's the reason it used to be said if a person has a personality disorder, that can't get better.
Mhm.
Like you can't say that. You can't say that
Right.
because what you can say is we have not identified the mechanisms that
Mhm.
effectively rehabilitate personality disorders. You
Mm,
might be able to say that, but to say that there aren't mechanisms, there aren't experiences that
mhm.
will help to re-network and transform that person is hogwash.
Mhm.
It's nonsense.
Right.
It's nonsense. So what you see is God built us with the ability to transform.
Mhm. With my clients, we do a lot of work with their thoughts and becoming aware of their negative thoughts and changing those thoughts. And after they put a lot of work, intentional work into changing their thoughts, their moods, their personalities. You know what I'm saying? They change into a more positive thinking instead of such a negative thinking.
So the first concept we want you guys to be aware of that the book talks about is this idea that neuroplasticity changed old paradigms.
Mhm.
So as accepted as our understanding of neuroplasticity is today, at one point the belief was that the brain wasn't capable of that. Okay?
Mhm.
And so you want to realize that these ideas evolve. All
Yeah.
right, the next thing is mental exercises reshape the brain. Mental
Mhm.
exercises reshape the brain. Now, you know, so one of the things that you then want to be aware of then is, man, what are things I can do that will in fact exercise my mind and exercise my brain?
Mhm.
So I really struggle with, hey man, what's the utility of like, like for example, Eastern meditation, where it's like I just focus on this one thought, focus on this one thought.
Mhm.
And so what I try to do in my brain training is I want to kind of simulate the activities that I'm going through the day, and I want my brain to perform the way that I want it to.
Mhm.
So I'm never in a situation where I'm just trying to focus on one point, but like, for example, a calculation. So I find it way more helpful to, let's say, do a mental calculation because that simulates the processing that I do when I'm trying to solve a problem or if I'm trying to analyze a situation. And so me and my daughter will do this sometimes, but we'll both sit in the room and we'll take an equation like 356 times 457. Let's see who can solve it first, just using our thinking, and we'll sit quietly in the room and we will just mentally go through it. You can do it. It's just it requires amazing focus. But here's
That
the
sounds
thing.
fun when your dad is a psychiatrist and a medical doctor and has fun with math. Those are the type of games you play.
Well, well, this, well,
My
well,
dad was
well,
into sports, like, we'd go shoot basketball or something like that, but
well,
and I'm kidding. I think it's amazing that you do that with your
well.
daughter.
The payoff is though that now as you're going through your day,
Mhm.
you feel like, hey man, I'm at peace. I can do the processing. I can do what's necessary because it's like I got my brain thinking.
Mhm.
So, mental exercises can play a really great, role in reshaping the brain. So that's an interesting point. Was there anything you wanted to say about that?
No, kind of just when I was sharing about the different exercise I give my clients to retrain their negative thoughts, it's basically on that same line of thinking, and that's what the brain can do.
Well, absolutely. And I really hope that they take those exercises seriously,
It's their homework.
you
They
know,
yeah, they have to. I make them take it seriously or
because
remind them every week how serious it is.
because the brain is going to re-network itself. Like
Yeah.
there are going to be neuronal changes
Mhm.
around these thought patterns. So, point number three is the importance of repetition. So, this is a great dovetail off of what you're saying.
Mhm.
Repeated practice is going to strengthen the neural connections.
Mhm.
And this is where it's really important to understand that when you first try to do something, A lot of times you encounter failure, defeat that can discourage you from progressing.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, is that a mistake. Boy, is that a mistake. Because the brain is literally like making changes, not stuff you can detect per se. Well, except the headache, because you're just like, man, this hurts,
Right.
but it's reorienting itself. And
Mm-hmm.
so now when you repeat it again, it's reorienting
Mm-hmm.
and it's reorienting, and the
Mm-hmm.
networks are forming.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we're not patient enough to give it the structure necessary. Somebody's a smart aleck.
I know. I see that. I was like, he's doing
Ari,
that for you and your daughter. That's hilarious.
that's funny, Ari. That's funny. But yeah, it's re-networking itself
Mhm.
so that it's going to support the endeavor of your choosing.
Yes.
Your brain is designed with an elasticity to modify itself to support the endeavor of your choosing for
Hmm.
better or for worse. So we'll talk
Right.
about the worst later on.
Yeah. I want
But
to.
please
There's
be
a
aware.
question up there, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, Deborah.
It's okay.
What
It's
did you say, Deborah? What's the
okay.
difference between a massive stroke and a mild stroke? Which part of the brain is affected by both? All right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about what is a stroke.
Hmm.
All right, so to understand what a stroke is, I want you to envision a tube, which is going to be your blood vessel, and in that blood vessel, obviously blood flows.
Right.
What exactly is accomplished with blood flow? The movement of that fluid. Well, blood flow will do two things simultaneously. It will bring things to the cells, the tissues, the organs. It will bring things to them. So, what does it
Hmm.
bring to them? It brings the red cells and the oxygen. It brings white cells to protect against infections and cancers and all that kind of stuff. It brings hormones that will affect how that tissue functions. And it just brings a host of things that cell, that tissue will need to function. Simultaneously, while it's bringing things to the tissue, it is also taking things away. So, what
Can
were
you
you
pause
going to say?
just 1 second?
What's that? What's that?
Veronica just said, "Sorry, I'm late," and so we just want you to know, Veronica, that we did a special welcome to you because we missed you. We noticed you weren't on, but we're
That's
glad that
right.
you're here now. All right, go
We
ahead.
yeah we shouted out Clint because he held it down. He was responsible. No, I'm kidding, Veronica. We are so honored that you would
Look,
be with us,
they're on vacation and she
even on
still chimed
vacation.
in. So no,
She
she gets
kind of
mad
won up
because
you,
no,
Clint,
you and Clint are still you're
neck and neck.
you're our top. You're our top
That was
people.
that was that
So
was tight, Veronica. I hope you guys are enjoying your vacation, by the way.
yes, yes.
So yeah, back to the blood cell and the fact that that flow is doing two things simultaneously, both bringing to the cell, the tissue, the organs, the organ system, a number of the chemicals, the resources it needs, but it's taking things away. So it's taking away waste products, it's taking away carbon dioxide. So that movement is very, very important.
Mhm.
So when we talk about a stroke, especially an ischemic stroke, we are talking about blockage in that blood vessel that's going to stop that flow. So now, because that flow has stopped, that tissue, the cells, the organs, they are not getting those resources, the oxygen, the hormones, and whatever else they
Mhm.
need. And it's also not getting rid of the waste, the carbon dioxide, and the other things it needs to get out of that cell. So, what do you think happens to the cells and those tissues?
They start to die off.
They start to die off. They
Mhm.
start to die off. All right. So now your question was, what's the difference between a massive stroke and a smaller stroke? Well, the bigger the blood vessel, that the stroke is occurring in, the bigger is going to be the area that's affected. All right. And then, of course, the smaller the blood vessel, sometimes the smaller the area that is affected. But it gets really complicated because in the body, there are small areas that might be doing really important things. So even though it might be a small area, it could still be devastating consequences. So that's why it's hard to talk about small versus big. The other thing is, again, this is fearfully and wonderfully made. Part of the reason that sometimes strokes and blockages don't cause the massive deficits that you would expect is because, for example, the blood supply of the brain is a circle, it's circular.
Mhm.
So it really takes advantage of collateral circulations, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Meaning if the blood doesn't get there one way, well, then maybe it'll get there another way. And, you know, and so, and that's the other thing about when you exercise. When you exercise, there are hormones that are released that stimulate new blood vessel innervation of the tissue. And so this is why this can be really good stuff. So anyway,
Mhm.
the bottom line is that's why it can be a little complicated to say, well, is it a big stroke? Is it a small stroke? And then the other thing you want to know about strokes is while there can be ischemic, there can be blockage that will disrupt the blood getting to where it needs to get to and leaving. There can also be hemorrhagic strokes. Hemorrhagic means rather than blockage, now the tissue ruptured.
Mhm.
Okay, so you'll hear that, hey, the person had an aneurysm. So an aneurysm is like when that blood vessel starts to balloon as the
Mhm.
integrity of the wall starts to weaken or become defective.
Mhm.
And then it can weaken and weaken until the aneurysm ruptures.
Mhm.
Okay. And so that's where you can get, but the bottom line, the central thing that's occurring is there is a disruption in the flow
Mhm.
um, of to that tissue. So I hope that answered your question about, you know, large versus smaller strokes.
Mhm. Yes, that was a great answer and response. We were on number 3, and you were talking about the importance of repetition. And I just
Exactly.
wanted to share this point too. Like I was saying, when I with my clients, we do do work on um, well, something else that we do is I have them do is positive affirmations. So they're repeating every day the same thing. So I usually tell them to do 3 sets in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and I tell them to look in the mirror, look in your cell phone if you don't have a mirror. Like I want them to hear themselves and see themselves say the words of, I am good enough. I'm just giving examples. I am good enough. I am smart. I am worthy of love, whatever the affirmation needs to be. And they're saying this 3 times a day, every single day. And after some time, that neuroplasticity, their minds, those neurons, they're changing. They're changing from this negative connection and belief, negative thoughts about themselves to positive ones. So that takes time though. It
It
takes
takes
time.
time. It takes time to even believe it, but
Right.
it's so key to do it. I think that's wonderful that you
Mhm.
do that to your clients because it's like bloodless neurosurgery.
Yes.
Good
I
therapists,
love that.
good practitioners are doing bloodless neurosurgery. Like
Yes.
we are literally helping to reshape the brain. And of course, when you leverage activities like what you just described,
Mhm.
you are literally impacting their brain for the better. So a lot of times people want to minimize things like therapy, you know, mental health coaching, but
Right.
like what you're doing is you are helping this person think differently. You
Yes.
know, you're helping them, you're helping them rewire their brain.
Right.
And so think about how a brain is wired towards those positive thoughts, but then think also about how a brain is wired towards negative thoughts.
Right.
Like if you've ever experienced a person who's super negative, just imagine, man, how is your brain wired?
Mm.
Clearly I see how it's wired.
Right.
Well, you're going to have patience to get it unwired.
Uh,
That's not going to just happen in a day. You know, that's why when you talk to a person, be like, cheer up.
Right. Just
It's
yes.
like,
And I even tell my clients, I was like, when you start these positive affirmations, because you're wired for the negative, you're going to feel like you're lying to yourself. It's going to feel awkward, but I want you to keep saying it anyways. And eventually it stops to be so awkward, and you start to not think you're lying to yourself anymore, and you actually start to believe it. But it's a process. It's a long process.
this is interesting. Um, So we had
We have a math teacher
Candy.
here. We have a math professor here, so he might. I think he wants to challenge you at some point.
Oh my goodness. What did I start?
I don't
Um,
know.
Candy, Candy
Math
asked a great.
professors scare me.
I'm just saying. I'm
That's a
just saying.
negative thought. I need to change that. Okay, go
Exactly.
ahead.
Atonte, they scared you until now.
Until now.
Until
Until
now.
now. That's right.
Candy, you asked why did people why do people have a heart attack after a stroke? I love this. This is a fantastic question.
Sure.
So one of the things that'll happen is if you hear a person had a stroke, let's say in their brain, um, sometimes the thinking is, okay, well, they have a problem just in that particular vasculature. There, that's
Mhm.
so that affects the blood vessels of the brain. And what we don't realize is that, look, a problem somewhere is very likely an indicator that there might be a problem everywhere. And
Right.
I'm saying that loosely. But just if you've got a lot of atherosclerotic plaque buildup, there's a good chance it's not just occurring in one area. So, for example, you may have heard this before, but erectile dysfunction is sometimes described as the canary in the landmine. It's
Mm.
not the land. Is it the landmine? Canary in the mine.
Mine.
Canary in the
Yeah.
mine.
Mine. Yeah.
Meaning, back in the day, of course, for those of you who may not be aware, I guess when the canary died, it was a sign that you guys were exposed to gas. I think, right? But the bottom line being, it's blood vessels. It's patent functional blood vessels that allow for an erection, and when that goes away, it's a sign that those blood vessels might be damaged. Well, in like manner, it's probably not just blood vessels there that's affected, it could be all over the body.
Mm.
So, an ischemic stroke, or a stroke in one part of the body, it could also mean that there might be a stroke, that the blood vessels that supply the heart might be problematic.
Mhm.
So that's just one possibility. But the bottom line is, the answer to your question is, it can be a myriad of reasons as to why a person may have a heart attack. Myriad of reasons why a person may have a stroke. But I just want you to be aware that this is why it can be so awesome to try to live in ways where you reduce plaque deposition, where you reduce damage to your blood vessels, because it's very likely that's going to be damaged all over the body. All right. How
Right.
does
Really, really quick before we go into that question, I think it's a perfect time for you to speak about the Mastermind Institute, right? Did I give it?
Well, thank you so much for
You're
that,
welcome.
sis. Well, so after 13 years of formal training and 20 years practicing, what I saw was pretty clearly, and designing treatment team plans, I saw what worked, I saw what didn't work. And one of the things that led me to develop was my seven vitals process. And now I'm doing more and more coaching through the Mastermind Institute, so that if you are interested in exploring coaching with me, I texted you a link, but you probably don't have that link ready, right?
You know what? I don't because
So just email me at info at the Mastermind Institute. Just
our
email me at info at the Mastermind Institute. If you are interested in exploring what possibilities there are to coach with me. So it's info at the Mastermind Institute.
right.
Um,
And you could probably put it in the chat if I'm dialoguing with them. If
yeah,
you have time to put it in the chat. And if our queen producer Amra was here, she would have had it ready to go. Just want to ask you guys to keep Amra in prayer because she's healing. She wasn't feeling well recently, and so that's why she's not here this evening. But hopefully she'll be back next week. So we're looking forward to that. We do have. There it goes. You were quick.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, please check that out. That's in the chat. You can click that link and you'll get all that information that Dr. Whyte was talking about. Um,
Absolutely.
yes. So that question, how does the brain overcome deep-seated guilt? And the
So,
easy answer is that that process we were already talking about is the beginning way, but go ahead.
well,
It can be
well, the implication of those words, deep seated, they kind of clue you in on what's going on. It's deep seated, meaning it's deeply networked, so the networking is going to be pretty extensive in terms of just the way that that person is thinking, their rumination. Well, what do you think that's doing to their neural networking? It's really building around that process. Well, the same way it was built through what? Repetition. They
Mhm.
repeated the idea over and over and over and over again. So guess where healing is going to come from? Repetition,
Mhm.
you know? But I got to tell you, Ari, like this to me is why our approach is just so fascinating in terms of mental health.
Mhm.
There are important questions that you would go over with that person. Um, and you're really trying to get at, you know, why are you so guilty? Why are you prone to guilt?
Mhm.
And so often it's interesting listening to what happened in your early life, because as people go on in their path, in their journey, what you see is there are often defining events. There are defining events. And those events will shape such important parts of you, especially how it unfolded. Did you get therapy? Did you not get therapy? Did you get counseling? Did you not get? And it will affect who you are and how you are. And so it's really important to understand what's the person's biology, so how were they wired in the first place, then what are the things that happened that led them, and then you can start to then formulate, okay, what's the experience I can design that's going to rehabilitate the person, and at the core rehabilitate the way they think.
Mhm.
It formed through repetition. Okay, so they had a biological predisposition. Then they had life experiences that just revved the engine up, and it supported the wiring. And then they
Mhm.
get to this point where, okay, well, now let's understand the wiring and let's put in place an experience that will rewire that brain. But
Right.
the good news is change is possible.
Yes.
Change is possible. Our brains are not like these metal structures where tomorrow, provided there's no heat, when I come, it's going to look exactly like this, provided it
Mhm.
doesn't fall or whatever.
Mhm.
Not your
Mhm.
brain.
Right.
Not your brain. Your brain, depending on your experiences, can absolutely transform.
Mhm.
So it's just you got to do the reps. You got to do the reps. What were you going to say, sis?
I was gonna say you gotta do the reps because it's like your brain wasn't wired with this negative thinking or emotions or feelings overnight. That's years of the different experiences in your life that has caused you to be wired that way. And so I like to explain to my clients, like it's tightly wired together. And so when you're doing the repetition, you're just slowly every day unwiring that thinking process. And it's a beautiful thing that it can happen, right? That it's even possible. I like to tell people that neuroplasticity, this is how I feel, this is my opinion, is besides Jesus dying on the cross, our biggest gift to us as humans. Because as sinful humans, without neuroplasticity, there would be absolutely no hope for us.
To be like so, but the capacity for transformation,
Mhm.
like it's just so amazing if you will just be patient with the process. If you
Right.
just don't demand that the first time you do it, it's perfect.
Yeah.
If you will allow for the reps,
Yes.
I have to record content from time to time. Atonte, you should see the first try. Oh my goodness.
He
I'm
was like,
like,
"Oh,
what's wrong with me?
right,
You
yeah.
know?
Why did I mess up that word?
Scratch that
Okay,
one.
do it again. Do it
And
again.
then
I
you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. It's like,
know.
oh, now
Mhm.
that's what I thought it would sound like by the
Yeah.
100th time, you
Yes.
know?
And, like,
So
working out at the gym is the same principles. Like, you just have to be consistent. And then after a month, you start to see stuff. And then after 2 months and 3 months, and people think Pastor Myers just poof turned into like to be a very muscular man, looking
that's
man.
not all natural?
No, it's not all
Don't
natural.
don't give away his secret.
You guys wouldn't believe how small he was when I met him. All I can say
Stop
is
it.
genetically, they are just very thin framed, genetically.
Well,
And
it
he
well,
decided
it's a
he wanted something different and he works at it all the
well,
time.
it's a testimony to his tenacity. So
Yeah.
props to the brother.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I love
We're on
Clint's statement here.
oh,
What
okay.
what were you gonna say?
No. I say we're on number 4, but let's
Yeah,
keep Clint. No,
I
I know
love
I saw the hallelujahs. There's hope for all. Yes, R.E.
amen,
Plant the
amen,
second.
amen.
There is hope for all. That's the
No
gospel.
question. No question. And Clint said, it's interesting how words reveal our infrastructure,
Mm,
our world. Yo, and Clint, can we take it one step further? Like, if you want to see how you're thinking, look at your environment. Look at your
yes,
environment.
very
Your
good.
environment is the outgrowth of your thinking.
Mhm.
There needs to be like an atomic bomb when I say that.
Mm,
Your environment right now, as you look around, if you're amazed by it, then you've been having some amazing thinking patterns. And
yeah,
if you're frustrated by it, you've been having some frustrated thinking patterns. But here is the awesome part. The awesome part is if you want it to get amazing, start shifting your thinking.
yes.
Start shifting your thinking, and it's totally possible. So I love that, Clinton, and that's why my slogan is master your mind so you can master your life. Master your mind so you can
Yeah.
master your life.
There's some great comments in the chat. Uh, Candy says the enemy wants us to believe we aren't forgiven, like we can't change type of thing. And then Felicia says, wow, the power of repetition.
Absolutely.
And yeah, they're really
All right,
getting excited about the change
awesome.
that can be had.
Well, now number 4 takes us to the whole point that we did this,
Oh,
why we did
did
this
we go ahead of
topic.
did we go ahead of the author on the book on the outline? We might have went a little ahead of him. Go
Well, I
ahead.
mean, sort of, but for number 4, the point that they went to is recovery from brain damage.
Okay.
Recovery from brain damage.
Mhm.
So now imagine if you think that the brain is fixed, then when it gets damaged, your thinking would be that that damage is fixed.
Right.
And that brain, that the book, The Brain That Changes Itself, shatters that. It just
Mhm.
shatters that idea. Absolutely shatters it. And what it talks about is recovery from brain damage.
Mhm.
So it gives this phenomenal story of a scientist whose brother, I guess, was a psychiatrist, and their father was a professor at one of the schools. I don't know if it was, in New York or what have you, but whatever the case, the father suffered a massive stroke. The brother, who's a psychiatrist, actually went home and he said, you know what? We crawl before we can walk. So let me
Mhm.
get him crawling. And so he has this man crawling everywhere and crawling and crawling and crawling. And so of course the neighbors are getting upset. They're like, he's making fun. This is outrageous. But whatever the case, he keeps at it, keeps at it. And don't you know, before long, his father crawls effectively, can walk effectively, and his father was tenacious as well. So before you know it, he like is doing one finger at the typewriter and he progresses and progresses until he regains full function to where he can go back be a professor. The father ends up dying on a
Mhm.
backpacking trip in the mountains. That's how
Wow.
functional he got.
Mm.
And then when they actually studied his brain, they see that there was a massive area that had involved the stroke.
Mm.
But the recovery involved the brain reassigning function, reassigning function. And so it's just such of an amazing story.
Yes, it is.
Um, regarding the recovery from brain damage, but that's like one story. Then
Mhm.
they talked about an institute called the Potts Institute. And this was an institute that was famous for its aggressive rehabilitation. It was incredibly aggressive. So they would get outstanding outcomes. Like people who had, had strokes and they'd been
Mhm.
paralyzed for a long time, their rehab was so aggressive. They would rehabilitate or restore function to a person that had been stroked out for like, 10 years, 12
Mm.
years. And so they thought,
Wow.
oh, I'm not going to get this back, but they were so persistent, so rigorous that they were effective in restoring function. And obviously, consult your healthcare provider.
Right.
Please do not get crazy
Right.
because really at the heart of good rehab, it's staying right on the cutting edge of that person.
Mhm.
You got to stay right on the cutting edge. You cannot overwhelm a person,
Right.
or else they'll just give up. It's when you stay right on the cutting edge and
Mhm.
you're able to encourage them through those dark moments. So this is not to encourage you to go crazy, but this is to encourage you to understand we were built to recover.
Yes.
And you are not doomed. You are not doomed by necessarily, a stroke. The potential for recovery is amazing. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully and wonderfully made. So
Glory to
that's the
God.
section, yeah, that's the
Glory to
section on
God.
recovery from brain damage, which I just
Mhm.
think is absolutely amazing. So the stories in the book that are littered throughout the book, Dr. Deutsch, you just did an amazing job. Pick that book up. Get the audio book because I don't know, it's just hard for me to read books nowadays. But the audio, I can listen while I'm driving.
Of course, in Southern California, you can listen to, like, 1 book a day because of the
Pretty much
traffic.
with our traffic.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I don't yeah, don't know how far you have to go to work, but even
Right.
if it's only 5 minutes away, this will take you probably an hour.
Right. But it's amazing as you're skipping around town,
Mhm.
it's like you get through like good 4 or 5 chapters and
Yes.
you knocked out a book.
Or when you're exercising in the gym. That's where
Or
I
when you're exercising in the gym. Sensory substitution, the brain can adapt. Number 5, the brain can adapt sensory input from one sense to compensate for the loss of another, such as using touch or sound to interpret visual information. Now, what that's getting at is that, for example, the back of the brain is normally thought of as the visual cortex, for example.
Mhm.
So now here it is. Now, if you got damage to the back, and now the person had some problem in vision, and with time maybe they restore vision, what exactly took place there? And so what that's getting at as far as sensory substitution is, there, like, throughout the brain you can get reassigning of function. There is tissue that can actually carry out functions that might have at one point been assigned to one part of the brain and now it's assigned to another part of the brain. So again, concepts that confine the brain, you find that the brain is like, don't confine me. I operate above your limitations. The name of the book again, Felicia, is
The brain that
The
changes
Brain That Changes Itself.
itself.
The Brain That Changes Itself by Dr. Norman Dodges. Goodbye, Felicia. I've always wanted to say that.
Please don't go anywhere, Felicia,
I'm
but
just joking. I'm just joking. I've always wanted to say that though. I'm just playing, Felicia.
so you helped him
Um,
to fulfill a dream, Felicia.
yeah,
Okay.
she probably gets that a lot.
I'm sure.
All right. Cortical periods. Oh, yeah. All right. So now number 6, critical periods versus lifelong change. So while some functions like language acquisitions are easier during certain developmental windows, neuroplasticity proves that significant changes are possible at any age. Okay. And so it used to be believed, this is why yes, children will tend to learn at a more rapid pace,
Mhm.
and their investments are very, very, high end. If they're
Mhm.
learning languages, it can be easier. If they're learning musical instruments and a lot of processes, in fact, you hear with a lot of champions, I started at 4 and I started, so there is definitely an advantage. But please do not be discouraged to take up new activities. Let me see. Felicia said, I have a grandson who has autism. Can this work for him? Oh, what a question, Felicia.
It's a great
I
question.
have a grandson who has autism. Can this work for him? I once had a friend who um, his daughter was autistic, and so he asked me, "Hey, man, what should be my approach in training her?" And Felicia, the key is to stay on the cutting edge.
Hmm.
But stimulation, stimulation, stimulation. And when I say that, first of all, work with your healthcare provider. But what
Right.
I mean is you want to stay on their cutting edge and support, their activities. So it's like, hey, I want to teach you this. And so you see what it is that they can learn, and then you adapt to it, and you keep doing the gentle
Hmm.
stimulation. Now, autism is, tricky because sometimes, like, they really don't want to be stimulated in certain ways, or it
Right.
might be light, it might be colors, it might be different things. So, what's true in autism is so true with any other child.
Hmm.
You have to take the time to understand your child.
Right.
Like, you
And
have
how they learn.
and how they learn. So there's the proverb, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Hmm.
Child development number one, and 101. And what it's basically saying is train. When you train something, if you're going to effectively train anything, you have to understand that thing. You got to know where it is and where you want it to get to, and have the patience to not demand that it get to where you want to go at your pace. You have to be patient and be creative and say, okay, well, this didn't work. Well, maybe we can try it this way. Well, maybe we can try it this way. But the idea is understand where that child is, and then come up with the interventions to help them to develop. So that to me, and what on earth do you think is happening while you're doing that change, that training? Their brain is changing. Their brain is networking. So as much as possible, you are offering interaction where possible, where it respects how they want to interact. You are teaching them, hey, this is appropriate, this is not appropriate, but it really follows the same framework
Right.
that it would with a child that didn't have autism. It's
Mhm.
just you might need more patient in certain ways. And
Right.
by the way, look for their skills.
Yeah. Oh, they
Look
have them.
for their skills,
Autistic
because
children have those.
all humans are
Yeah.
blessed with an aptitude.
Hmm.
So they may very well be gifted in a certain area. So watch out for that. And don't presume, don't pre-label before you've actually been given them an opportunity. So it really follows the same format. Um, Patience,
Hmm.
understanding, and innovative intervening.
Right.
Like, and a lot of patience. And then I think it was Felicia, and some self-care for you too.
Right. Oh, for
Because
sure.
that patience is not simple.
And I'm gonna say this is for Ashley too, because she has three children
I
with
have three
autism.
children with autism,
They're 11
4,
and 12.
11, and 12. Self-care, self-care, self-care. Don't
Self-care.
forget that. Don't forget that part. But yeah, a tremendous amount
Mhm.
of, okay, how do I approach this child? And how do I approach this child? And
Yes.
what does this child love? And how do I leverage that understanding to incentivize them? Oh, you
Right.
love this? Okay, well, this is how we're going to reward you. So
I
lot of patience, a lot of
Yeah.
patience.
And for Ashley, like exactly what you said, Dr. White, but for Ashley, you have three children with autism. They're three different children with autism. So they may learn three different
Three,
ways, and
three
that's
different
perfectly
ways.
fine. And the good thing is that neuroplasticity is available to everyone. And then, but just like with, or it's possible, I should say, with everyone, but then with the autistic child, it will just look a little different on how they learn that.
But the
So
be- but the
everyone
best
has the same hope. It just may look a little different.
But the best way to frustrate yourself is to go in with this predetermined idea of
Yeah.
this is how it is, and it of course can clash with the reality of what you encounter, and then everyone's frustrated. Rather than, hey, I really need to take the time to understand, how does this child like to learn?
Mhm.
How do they learn boundary setting? How do I incentivize them? And it's going to be different for each one, very likely. But hats off to you.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, a lot of prayer and fasting and all that kind of good stuff. Never
Yeah.
mind the biological stuff. What are the nutrients that
Mhm.
help their brains? What are when is it that you should be feeding them, and how do you keep
Mhm.
them on a schedule so that they sleep? So
Very
it,
important.
it's all a system. Have you heard of using sound frequencies with autism? That is out of my depth.
I
That is
was just
out of
gonna
my
say
depth.
it was out of
I
mine
I,
too, so I
I
just thought,
don't
"Well,
know.
maybe Dr. White."
I don't know anything about that, Ashley. My just want to be as clear as possible.
Yes.
All right, let me see. Critical. Next, number 7 is the dark side of neuroplasticity. And so basically, you'll recall I said the brain is designed to help you in the endeavor of your choosing, for good or for bad.
Mm.
And so what you'll see, for example, with a person who is addicted, let's say they're addicted to porn, let's say, even the sound of keys will be a trigger. Even the
Mm.
sound of keys will be a trigger. And like a person, for example, who's addicted to heroin or alcohol, did you know that when they have resolved to relapse, if they were experiencing withdrawal, the withdrawal actually improves a little. Like, this is how profound the mind is.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're talking about it's just so profound. But how when you go around a certain neighborhood, if you're an addict, just certain places trigger you. Just a given memory can trigger you because your brain is wired around the use of that substance. So sometimes, I'll be, saying to some of my patients struggling with addiction, so you're gonna go to a meeting? Oh, that meeting is way too far. I'll be like, just act like your connect was over there, right?
Mhm.
Would you find a way if your connect was over there? Oh, you know that, doc. I'm saying, I'm saying the same creativity you used in the substance use that in your recovery. And
Mhm.
one of the amazing things you see
That.
is people who recover from addictions become amazing salespeople. They will lead movements because they have figured out now how to switch and how to harness the power of that addictive behavior into recovery behavior, and amazing things happen. So that's the dark side of neuroplasticity. You can become
Mhm.
habituated to things that do not serve you. And we can go from addiction to chemicals, to substances, to processes and behaviors. Addicted to gossip, addicted to lying, addicted to bullying people. So that the brain can just become habituated, man. Why would you want that? Why would you want that? So that's the dark side of neuroplasticity.
Yes. You know, we are at that time. It's a lot of, and I know we have a few more points and we could go even deeper in the study. I'm thinking, guys, I think we're calling another audible that we might do a part 2 next week.
Might do part 2. It's only 2, the role of attention, application in therapy and rehab, which we did a lot of.
We did.
We
We
talked a
did.
lot about
Okay.
application therapy. So we can go back to the last part of depression for next week,
Okay.
because we hammered home the power of therapy and rehab.
Yes.
And so just really quickly, the role of attention.
Okay.
Focused attention is critical for rewiring the brain as it engages the processes needed for learning and adapting. So this is where I talked about my daughter and I doing this like mental calculating,
Right.
and practicing focus and attention. So yeah, I go grab the book.
Yeah, guys,
It's
it's
a
good stuff.
phenomenal book. If you've had a stroke, or if you know somebody who's had a stroke, empower yourself to understand how best to help them.
Mhm.
So by the time you end up reading that book and you see some person struggling and they're approaching a door, normally you'd run up and be like, "Nah, let me get the door for you." No, let them struggle, let them get
Yes.
it, because that struggle communicates to the brain, we need you. And we
Yes.
need those neurons to innervate those muscles,
Mhm.
and they're going to get better. Obviously, guys, don't be cruel.
Right.
But be like,
Don't be cruel, but
like
I
White
know,
said,
but
you get to
understand
go
the
to yourself.
point.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Oh, goodness.
But I want you to understand the role it plays of use it or lose it. The brain is
Yes,
definitely built on the system of use it or lose it. So please use it.
for
Over
sure.
to you, sis.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. And RE Plant the second, yes, be here next week. You plan to come, bring some friends with you because all of you add to our programming. And so we're just so thankful to have each and every one of you. So again, share this on your social media because everybody needs to hear this information that neuroplasticity is what is our brains can change. And
Our
so
brains,
that
absolutely.
is the most hopeful thing for every human being on this planet. So share with
Oh,
your friends, your family, and just be blessed. And we're just thankful that you were here. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
see you next week, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.